Okay, so for our first washcloth, the directions say after you chain 25, which I did in the previous video, that one will be titled How to Chain and Crochet. It says that in the second chain from the hook, you want to single crochet in that chain and in every other chain across, so that you should have a total of 24 single crochets. When it says the second chain from the hook, now I really want to make sure that you guys are able to see this. So the chain, the loop that's on your hook, that never counts. So you're going to count. And again, if you want to count your chains, they're these little V's. So this one is your first chain, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. So it says in the second chain from the hook. So what that means is not this one, not this first V, but the second V. So you're going to take your hook, leave this hoop on it, and you're just going to go into that second chain just like that. So now it should look like you have two little loops on there. You're going to grab the yarn just like you did when you chained, pull it through, grab the yarn and pull it through both loops. That right there is a single crochet. Now, what I recommend highly for beginners is that you get some stitch markers. That was our first single crochet in this row. And you're going to take your stitch marker and go through the V just like that, so that you don't forget that that was your first stitch, because it can be really easy to forget that that was your first one. And a lot of people forget to go back and single crochet into that one because it's on a little bit of a slant. So I'm going to go across, and like the pattern says, we're going to have 24 single crochet. So again, it says to single crochet in the second chain from the hook, which is what we just did, and in every chain across. So now you're just going to go into the next chain, grab the yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn, pull through two. And we're going to do this all the way across. Now again, as you're going across, when you go into each chain, you want to look for these V's. Again, sorry about this. I have like a hair in there or something. So we just went into that one. Here's our next V. You're going to go in. You should just have one extra little loop on there. Grab the yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn, pull through both. So I'm going to go ahead and do this all the way across. Try not to overthink it. What you want to remember is that when you go into each chain, you just want to have that one little loop on there. Grab the yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn, pull through both. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this row. And again, one thing that I always tell beginners when I'm teaching people how to do this is two things. Try not to rush, take your time, and make sure that your initial chain doesn't get twisted. You want to keep it straight. If you flip it and you start going into these little bumps back here, you're going to mess it all up. So just make sure that you're keeping it flat and you're going into each little V. Again, I'll do it. So here's the next one. You're going to just go into that one. I don't know. I have cats, so I guess that's where these little hairs are coming from. Go into that, grab the yarn, pull it through, grab it again, pull through both. Now, all of these stitches are single crochets. And you're going to do that all the way across till the end. Again, don't worry about your speed in the beginning. This comes with... The reason that I'm able to do it as quickly as I am is because I've been doing this for years. Speed will come in time. What you need to focus on in the beginning is not missing any stitches, counting your stitches. I'm not doing that right now, but I am going to go back and show you guys how you can count them. I also, now see how this is kind of, it's starting to like flip a little bit. That will straighten itself out. So don't worry about that too much. And again, I highly, highly, highly recommend stitch markers for beginners because it's super easy to forget your first or last stitch. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish. Ooh, see, now we got a little bit of a snag there. That's fine. If it doesn't feel right, there's nothing wrong with, you know, letting it take the hook out and just start over with that chain. So we are now at the end. You are going to go into this last one right here. This is the final one in the row. So you go through this final little loop, pull through both, and I'm going to mark this stitch. This is our last stitch. It should look something like that, and put it through the final stitch. Now, what I wanted to show you guys is, if you need to count, you're going to count these little V's. So we have, I'm sorry that this thing keeps flipping. I don't know why the yarn has a tendency to do that. So we have, you know what? If you're stopping your work for any reason, what you can do is take your hook, pull up a loop like this, a long loop, remove the hook, and that way you can do things like counting stitches like I'm about to do right now. So here is, and again, the pattern says that we should have 24. One, again, we're looking at the V's. So here's stitch number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now, you can leave the stitch markers in there. If you do pull up that loop, you put the hook back in and you pull the yarn that's attached to the ball, just like that. In the first washcloth pattern that we did, it's at the end of each row, and you're going to do this you're going to single crochet 25 rows. So you're going to get to the end. You did your final single crochet. You're going to chain 1. So just like we did in the beginning before we started single crochet, now what you want to do is just grab the yarn and pull 1 chain through. Then you're going to turn. Again, if you want to leave the stitch marker in there, you can. This is the very first stitch that we need to go into. You don't have to take the stitch marker out. Single crochet. We chained 1. Now we're working on the second row. So we pull it through, grab the yarn, pull through both. Now, what I recommend, again, I'm big with the stitch markers. Now that we just made the first stitch in our second row, we're going to remove the stitch marker from our first row. These come out a lot easier than it looks like. I'm just trying to make sure that my hands and my work are on the camera this time. So you just take it out of there. Now again, we've turned and we're working on our second row. So here is our first single crochet in that second row. So you just put it right there so that you mark that V. So that's 1. Now, we're not going into chains anymore, so this is important as well. You need to make sure when you're going through a single crochet that you go through the V. And this can be a little bit tricky because the V's have a tendency, as you can see, to kind of like be on the back side, so you're really going to have to look. So you want your hook to go through the whole V right there. So you're in the V. This is, again, it's different from your initial chain. Grab the yarn, pull it through. Grab the yarn, pull it through both. Now we have 1, 2 single crochets. Same thing, go through the V. Make sure you're going through the V. Again, it's not the same thing as going through our chains. So we have now 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, and you're going to do that all the way across, again, making sure that you're going into So this is one of my cats, Charlotte. I don't know if you guys can see her, but she is playing with the yarn. Can't be mad at her for that. She's a cat. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this all the way across. Again, you can rewind, slow it down if you need to. But you have to make sure that you're going through the entire stitch. Some people will make the mistake of accidentally only going through one loop. You have to go through the whole V. Unless the instructions state otherwise. In patterns, for example, where it'll say go through the front loop or the back loop only, but we're not there yet. So for right now, to do a regular, normal single crochet, or any other stitch for that matter, you need to go through the entire V. So I'm trying to get as much of this on camera as I can. I'm just going to go ahead, finish up this row. I'm trying to make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing. Again, don't hesitate to, like that, if you guys saw the yarn kind of just slipped off my finger for a second there. Take as much time as you need. It's not a race, and you need to make sure that your stitches are correct. So I'm going to title this video, How to Do a Single Crochet. Now we're at the end. Now, again, this is where a lot of people get really confused. And it is tricky because the more that you work, the harder it can be to see these. So here's our stitch marker. And the reason that we put it there is because we need to remember that this is the last stitch that we're going to go into. So you need to make sure to go into that V, ignore this, do your final single crochet. Again, remove the stitch marker. So now you're done. Now we're done, sorry, that second row. Take the stitch marker out. Here's our final single crochet, and you're going to move it up to this row. Now, same thing. And again, you can now tell that we have 2 rows of single crochet because 1, 2. Same thing if you look at it from the other side. 1, 2. And it will become more and more obvious as you do this. Again, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, go back into that first one, single crochet, remove the stitch marker, and you don't have to use the stitch markers, but for beginners, I very, very, very highly and strongly recommend that you do, so that you do not drop any stitches. We're going to go, I'm going to very quickly do this final row. And again, you're going to do this if you're working on our first single crochet washcloth pattern, which is in a previous video where I was off the camera quite a bit. You're going to go for 25 rows total. You can also download a row counter app, or you can do what I did in the first video, which is make little tally marks every time you finish a row. That's fine too. However you want to do it, but you need to make sure that you're keeping track of your rows, because as a beginner, it's not always easy to count how many you have. And honestly, for this particular pattern, it doesn't really matter if you have 24, 25, 26, but it is going to matter when we get on to further things. Now, again, it's the same thing, and I want you guys to practice repeating it. So you're going to go into the V. Sorry, that's the tail end of the yarn. And when I get to the end of this, I'm going to stop the video, and then I'm going to show you guys in the next video, excuse me, I need a little bit more yarn, how to fasten off and weave in your ends. I am not going to complete this entire washcloth on film. Oops, see, I totally just slipped out right there. It doesn't matter how advanced you get. Sometimes you're going to lose your footing, or I guess, whatever, for lack of a better term. Again, your stitch markers in your last stitch, make sure you do not forget to single crochet into this one. Pull it through, As I recommend, remove the stitch marker before you chain one and turn. Now you guys are going to keep working, but put that into that final stitch right there. Now, if you were going to keep going, you're going to chain one, turn, go back the other way. I'm half tempted to do that, but we're going to be doing a different washcloth. So don't worry about it. Looks a little bit weird right here. It's normal, I promise. Your like the outline of your projects will come together as long as you are not missing your first to your last stitch, and as long as you make sure that you have the right number of stitches in each row. So again, I'll show you guys. Here's our first stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, right here. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You should have 24. 21, 22, 23, 24. As long as you have that, you get to the end, chain one, turn, make your first single crochet. If you're using stitch markers, move it up. Then you'll be good. I promise you'll be good. So, I'm going to end this video right here, and in the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to fasten off and weave in the ends of your yarn. Again, I'm not going to make this entire washcloth for the sake of time, but you guys do need to know how to fasten off and how to weave your ends in, so that video will be coming up next. Thank you.